Hey, Christy Mattoon here with Rewire. Thank you for being here with me. Today we are working on sadness. This is, I think, the second one of these videos I've done on how to use a whole brain state. And so today we're going to work on sadness because that was what was so big inside my own life, inside my own body. Never could figure it out for the longest time, going to healers and all kinds of different energy workers. And that was the first thing I always heard was, oh, you're so full of sadness. Nobody could ever really get rid of the sadness. And so it's interesting when you finally start to understand that it was because of a disharmony in my brain regulation that they couldn't get rid of the sadness. Right? Is it stuck in an organ? Yeah, it totally was. But because the body wasn't harmonized, it couldn't release it. And then once I got things in alignment, harmonized, and in coherence, all of a sudden it just was gone. And so that's kind of interesting how, the physiology of the system works to either keep you locked in a pattern or help you move out of it. So we're working on sadness today using a whole brain state to help calm the system, right? We want to calm the system so it doesn't have to keep going into sadness. We want to train a different level of feeling into the subconscious. You can't just take away sadness. You have to have something different that your subconscious can use and chew on. Does that make sense? So that's what we're working on today. I want to talk a little bit about this idea of a whole brain state because when you understand it, it just makes a ton of sense. You have a whole brain inside your head. You're not just part of a brain. You're not just half of a brain. Now, while some people actually might have that issue, the brain can take over and still do what it needs to do. So we're talking about the idea of having two hemispheres that will actually talk to each other and communicate and give you a different experience, different levels of feeling, and different perceptions. So when you think about your brain, right, you've got these two hemispheres. We've been taught that we're predominantly one side or the other. And I know you've all heard this before, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. But if you're more right-brained or left-brained and you tend to go to that side more because that's the stuff you're good at, we want to still have an equal flow, even though you're more intuitive. You want to be resourceful in the avenue of, mathematics and science and have some of the structure and function of the other side of the brain as well. And vice versa. You want to have both equal, right? Be an equal opportunity brain employer so that you can be more balanced in your life. It just makes a huge difference. And so when you think about this, the right half operates the left half operates the right half. When you cross your body at midline, the brain has to do something to stabilize the system. And this is physical, it's mental, it's emotional. No matter what arena you're working in, this idea will have some interplay with that. And so the brain's going to seek to stabilize sadness in this instance. So what I want you to do is much like we did yesterday, think about sadness, not relative to a situation necessarily, although it might take the situation to get you there. Think about, what does sadness feel like? And access sadness. And then notice it. Notice it inside your body. Where does it sit predominantly? Once you've felt it for about a minute, I want you to cross your ankles, one over the top of the other, and then cross the opposite direction. And you might have to go back and forth a few times, but you're looking for the side with the strongest pull to it. Maybe it feels heavier. So find that side, and then do the same thing with your wrists. One wrist over the top of the other, feel. Stay with the side that feels the strongest. Now you can just drop your hands into your lap. You can rotate palms up, place your hands, put one over the top of the other, place your hands over your heart space. I love this position the best. You could whip your hands around each other and lace your hands up, do one of these jobbies. I prefer this. And then as you're doing that, I want you to keep your eye on sadness, but I want you to start to breathe. So it's nice big inhales, nice long deep exhales. Big inhale. Really try and round out your rib cage, open up those lungs, keep your awareness on sadness. Nice deep exhale. Big inhale. Nice long deep exhale. We're going to be here for about 3 minutes. I want you to stay in your breathing pattern, keeping your awareness, keep your focus on that sadness. Just keep noticing it and noticing it as it starts to alter. Noticing it as it starts to shift. And you can even aid it by bumping your emotional intelligence into the ranges of gratitude, of peace, of love. And then just keep feeling, keep noticing. And sadness comes in many different layers. You're just letting it go. Whatever your body gives up, whatever your mind gives up, whatever your soul gives up, we're just letting sadness go. You can even walk through your body while you've got sadness in your awareness and you're in this whole brain state. You have raised your brain waves. As you inhale and exhale, you continue to raise your brain waves. And walk through your body just looking for that feeling of sadness. So it's almost like you're the observer standing back, looking in, paying attention. And when you feel a different level of feeling, I want you to really recognize it and pay attention to it. Really be open and curious to the new level of feeling. And then when you're ready, you can take a deep breath and open your eyes and just stay in that new level of feeling. Notice what it is. Put a label to it. Mine was joy. I had this huge little pop of joy just now. And I've been working on sadness for years, so I was reaching deep trying to find some and actually found it in my foot. So I have a dead bone in my foot. I have a bone that I killed years ago from a car accident. I just feel light and floaty. So how do you feel? Comment below. Let me know how you feel. And let me tell you something about being in a whole brain state. This is something we just now sat down and did. And what I'm always trying to teach is it's not something you sit down and do. It's something you become. So we want the brain to learn how to stay in an open state. We want the brain to learn to be whole and not operate from predominantly one side or the other, right? It will make you, if you're more intuitive or creative or all those kind of things, it will make you more of that. But it's also going to put in coherence with the structured side, the more quote unquote rigid side. I don't think it's that rigid. I think it gives structure and boundaries to the other stuff that you've already got, right? And vice versa. If you're on that side of it that's more sciencey and mathematic and structured and rigid, it's going to add some creativity to it. It's going to add some intuition to it. And it's just awesome. It makes that stuff flourish. It makes it even better. So how do you start getting your brain to train to stay in a whole brain state? You uncross everything when you're doing nothing or when you're sitting doing something, and cross your arms and legs and just sit there. And people do this all the time and you don't even recognize it. We do it in context to conversations we're having. You'll be in a group of people with having a conversation. All of a sudden you'll notice somebody standing there with their arms and legs crossed. And sometimes it's one or the other. Sometimes it's both. I guarantee you the reason they're doing that is so that they can get into coherence to really understand what's going on around them. It's interesting when you really start to watch it and pay attention to it. All right? When you're doing nothing, just sit in that pattern and breathe. And the more often you do it, the more structured you are, the more creative you're going to get finding ways to do this. All of a sudden it just becomes natural. It becomes just a natural part of your body. It is a technology of your system. It's super simple to use. Super, super simple to use. And there's way more things we can do with it, but we're going to stop here for right now. Subscribe and like Mind Rewire if you haven't already. I greatly appreciate it. Share this series of videos as we're going through it. If it's helping you, it's going to help somebody else. And I just think that's so important in this space and time. I want to bless you for being here, and I'll see you on the next video. Tomorrow we'll be clearing something else, so be there for it. Thank you.